Good evening, everyone. I'm Yashwanta Adduri. On behalf of HCAS, I extend a warm welcome to all our respected members, professional colleagues, and guests who have joined us for this insightful virtual session on year-end activities to be taken care in Tally and accounting. Today's session will cover key year-end checklists in Tally, automated bank statement accounting, importing purchases and sales data from Excel to Tally through mapping tables, usage of Bharat Connect functionality, and there is a lot more to take away from this session. It's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker for this session, Mr. C.A. Badarinath, a seasoned chartered accountant and financial strategist. As a principal chartered accountant at Badarinath Associates, he leads a team managing over 350 clients, delivering export solutions and compliances in the financial management. Mr. Badarinath also served a key role at Shell India and Akasam and Associates, where he spearheaded statutory reporting and internal audits. He decided to extend into academia, serving as visiting faculty member for corporate law at ICAI and ICMA in Hyderabad. We are honored to have him enlighten us through the critical aspects of year-end activities to be taken care in tally or accounting, along with recent updates and common filing cautions. Without further ado, let's begin the session. Uh, Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Very good evening, and it's a privilege for me to address a lot of peers. And the concept that we have selected, especially since it's a year end, which is something that has to help everyone in the closure of the books of accounts. And so whatever all the topics that I cover, some of the topics might be that we might know, but we are also expecting there might be certain people who are freshers. So keeping in that aspect also in mind, I would be covering the total procedures, whatever all that we shouldn't forget at the year end for a proper closure of books of accounts. So basically, financial statements has to come out well. Books of accounts has to be closed properly. Both are interlinked, correct? So now let's look into the way in which we need to properly what are all the aspects that need to be checked at the closure of the books of accounts. And later on, I will also try to brief latest developments in Tally with regard to the automation where we need not pass the bank statement entries like receipts, payments, contra entries manually. We can simply import all those entries from a bank statement. So that is something that I will cover it up. And coming to the next one, there is something called as Bharath Connect. It's completely a new feature. So I'll also show you a practical demonstration how exchange of invoices will happen through Bharath Connect. And if all the people adopt Bharath Connect, how our work would significantly be, how our workload would be significantly reduced is also something that I will touch upon. And lastly, if any questions are there, 100% will give sufficient time for Q&A. So in that Q&A, we can have that discussion as well. I'll ensure that meeting is completed on time so that proper time would be left over for Q&A. If you have any questions in between, you can park those questions in the chat box so that it won't be missed out. And lastly, we will unmute certain audience whoever has any questions to flag. So basically, I'm just taking a test case of a company. What are all the year-end checks that we are supposed to do before we close the books of accounts? So basically, in order that we need to have an assurance that current year books are right. What is the first check that generally we do as auditors? Even though we have passed all the entries perfectly, but still the balance sheet may be, though we have passed all the entries of this year correctly, still balance sheet might show certain wrong numbers. How come, sir, when all the entries are properly being captured this year, how can the balance sheet might have a wrong numbers, misstated numbers? The reason might be opening balances. So the first and foremost check that one has to ensure is they need to open the trial balance and they need to look for opening balances of this year, whether they are matching with the last year signed numbers or not. Am I right or not? Okay. Now, so what is the key shortcut that we use from Gateway of Tally for displaying the trial balance? So D for display more reports and T for trial balance. So in other words, DT, not direct tax, display trial balance. Okay. So DT. So the moment I click on DT, we'll be getting into this screen where all the groups will be displayed, where what I need to do now, F12. F12 is a function that I need to use. Now I need to select certain options where I want to see opening balance of the trial balances and also the current year transactions and also the closing balances. So Control A, that means I accept the screen, or simply press enter, enter, enter. So the moment I click on, so you can see now I want to see not groups balances, but I do want to see ledger balances. So on the right side, you can see an option by name called F5. Just click on F5. So automatically you're able to see all the ledger accounts, wherein you can also see the opening balances of each of the ledger accounts. So what is something that we need to ensure, whether the opening balances, whatever that we have here, are matching with last year's signed numbers or not. If not matching, we need to correct it. Otherwise, there is no use. Even if you have passed all the transactions correctly this year, still the closing balances might be a wrong number. So that's the first and foremost check one has to ensure in understanding whether the opening balances that are being used are matching with last year signed or not. The reason why there can be mistakes is that sometimes when our data entry team is entering the entries, they might post this year transaction in the previous year and we might not observe it. So automatically our opening numbers would get distorted. If that is not supposed to happen, ensure that opening balances matches with last year signed. Okay, so this is the first and foremost check that we are supposed to do, right? Verification of opening balances in the trial balance and ensuring that they are matching with the last year signed numbers. For this, what is the step that we need to do? Display trial balance. Click on F12, show opening balance, yes, transactions, yes, closing balances, yes. And basically by default, you will see groups, but we want to see ledger. So then just click on ledger wise. So automatically you will be able to see all the ledger wise trial balance. Okay, fine. Sir, what is the next step that I am supposed to do? If whether my books sales is matching with the GST return sales or not. Am I right or not? Whether whatever the sales that I have month wise, whether they are matching with my GST returns or not. So simple, go to profit and loss account, check your sales account, and you can click on monthly option. Am I right or not? So this is your sales data by each month. There might be certain debit notes and credit note adjustment as well. That is the reason why you will see even debit sitting here. But every month I have sales as per my books. I need to ensure whether the sales as per books is matching with the sales as per GST returns or not. If not, there might be certain correction. There might be a mistake, whether it might be in GST return or it might be a mistake in books of accounts. Identify where the mistake is and try to reconcile the sale figures as per books as well as GST returns. Correct, friends? Because generally most of the scrutiny is what they do. They'll compare the year-wise data. So that means if in any month, if there is any mistake that we had done, I know that we will be able to correct that mistake till next year, November, correct? But however, it is always advisable. It is always recommended to correct the error in the subsequent months before the financial year closes, correct? So it is very much important for every auditors, especially while finalizing the March GST return. If client had missed any sales which was not reported in GST, it is very much important that it is good that it is a best practice that those mistakes gets corrected on or before March GST return, which we will be filing by 11th of April GSTR1 and 20th of April the GSTR3B. Correct or not? So it's always good that we ask the clients the data and check if there are any mistakes that had happened in the April to February and suggest them if there are any prima facie mistakes that we find, ask them to correct it in the March month itself, right? Because prevention is better than cure. Once the March return is closed, then this year mistake will be correcting it in the next year. So unnecessarily, there would be a lot of explanation that we might need to give it to the department. So always advisable to correct this year mistakes in this year itself by March return. Yeah. So I hope this particular stuff clarifies. So matching the sales data with the GST returns filed, and if there are any mistakes that we had identified, correct it in the March month GST return. Coming to the next, what is the other checks that we need to do? The purchases, am I right or not? So whatever the purchases that we have, whether they are matching with the GST or 2B, whatever the ITC that we have claimed, whether that is matching with the ITC reflected in GST or 2B or not. So for example, display accounts ledger, I'll click on CGST. So if I click on CGST, let's say I go by month on month, April 25 to March 26. Let's go by monthly. So you can see the total CGST input for me is 1296, correct? So the same thing should tally to GSTR 2B. On June 795, and again November 1067. So total CGST that I had claimed is 4404 for this year, which is something that I need to ensure that matches with the GSTR 2B. Again, if there is any mistake that we had done, we need to correct it, correct? Before March, it's always advisable. Next, friends. So now the second step is matching of our sales and purchase data with the GST return data, correct? So sales will be comparing with GSTR 1 file and purchases will be comparing with the GSTR 2B. So there might be certain purchases which the vendor might not had filed his GST return, hence it would not be reflecting in our GSTR 2B. But still, since it's a purchase, definitely we have to record it as an expense, but we can't claim it as a CGST or SGST or IGST as the case may be, but we can claim it as an asset, CGST to be claimed, SGST to be claimed, and IGST to be claimed, and mark it under other current assets. When really that flows actually to GST or to be, you can move it to the regular CGST, SGST, IGST ledger. Till that time, you can park it in CGST to be claimed, SGST to be claimed, and IGST to be claimed. Because there is just a small slight delay for the counterparty to file the GST. Hence, there is nothing wrong for us to claim it as an asset. But since it was not reflecting in the CGST ledgers of the government, better we show that amount separately, like CGST to be claimed, SGST to be claimed, and IGST to be claimed. And in the subsequent year example, like March invoices, they did not file up by 11th, and they have filed it later, and it comes in the April to be, then probably simply you can pass an entry CGST debit, correct? CGST debit, CGST TBC credit, CGST to be claimed credit. Automatically, the TBC to be claimed balance will go off, and you'll be always, we need to ensure that CGST ledgers that we are using always matches with the ledgers as per the GST portal, because our ledgers are mirrors of CGST, SGST, IGST ledgers are the government, correct? So on 31st March, whatever the CGST ledger that you have in your GST portal, SGST ledger, IGST ledger, ensure that it matches with your books of accounts. So this is about all matching the purchases and sales to that of GST. What are all the other checks that we are supposed to do? Bank balance, correct? So 31st March, whatever the bank balance that we have, ensure that it matches with the bank statement. So that is a fundamental check we do, correct? And coming to the what else? Closing stock valuation, am I right? So there might be a case where the closing stock that is appearing in books of accounts as on 31st March, based on the flow of purchase and sales entries, might actually differ to when we actually go for a physical verification. So chartered accountants, generally what they do, they'll go to client's place for physical verification on 31st March. And if there is any discrepancy between book stock and the actual stock, and we would be asking the reasons, they might be saying because of the damage, the stock was lost, or something stock was lost, or stock was expired. So you need to make sure that you give necessary effect for the same also in the books of accounts, because now your books of accounts is not reflecting the true picture, because it's showing excess closing stock, but actually the closing stock is less, because when we were asking them, they were showing us certain expired products, but as per the tally, valuation is still appearing For expired stocks, can we have a valuation? No, because we will not be consuming it or we will not be reselling it. Hence, it's always right for us to affect the loss of loss due to expiry or whatever in the books of accounts as well. So this is very much important, though we might do it monthly or might not be do it monthly, because to the department we are giving on yearly basis. It's always right that our closing stocks, whatever that we are finalizing, should be aligned to the actual numbers that we find when we go for a physical stock verification, physical stock verification. And if there are any discrepancies, make sure that you give an effect to the same. And many of the times I get a question, sir, how to incorporate closing stocks in the books of accounts? The reason might be certain people might be doing tally, using tally without inventory. Okay, so they are not they have not enabled inventory. So whenever at each financial year end or month end, they'll value the closing stock and incorporate the closing stock manually. So if that's the case, how we need to create the closing stocks, correct? That's also many times I get a question from the people. So I'll just show you how to create the opening and closing stocks. Okay. So create ledger. Let me see if that ledger is there. Stock in hand, correct? Stock. Yeah, closing stock. So closing stock ledger is there, right? So I have created it. Alter ledger closing stock. Am I right or not, friends? Now, if you observe this, we can give the stock values manually, correct? So first we need to create closing stock ledger. The moment you create closing stock ledger, it will not ask you, it will not give you these options of entering the closing balances. Okay, year on year, it will not ask you to enter. Only when again after creating the closing stock ledger, you need to use an option called alter. Then only you will be able to give the valuation for the closing stock if you are valuing the closing stock manually. Okay, so for example, now 31st March 2025. Okay, fine. Now I want to give the closing stock as on 28th February 2026. Yes, I can give whatever the closing stock. Let us assume that the closing stock when I had used it, when I had arrived the closing stock, it's 1,52,780 rupees. So this is the closing stock that I give. Okay, let's see. Control A. Now you can see that stock also gets reflected here. I'm changing the period February 26. P&L. Can you see opening stock and closing stock, friends? Now, just now I have incorporated the closing stock 1,52,780 as on 20th February. The same numbers will appear as closing stock here, and the opening stock and the closing stock. So not only that you can have your closing stocks captured yearly only, there you can enter the closing stock daily as well, or you can even enter the closing stock values weekly or quarterly, because you can give a number of dates, whatever that you want. Because some clients might need monthly P&L. If it is monthly P&L, you might need to give the closing stocks there every month on month. So this is how you need to incorporate the closing stock values manually. If the closing stock values, if you are not arriving from the tally system, the reason might be you might not have integrated your accounts with inventory. But it is always a best practice to integrate accounts with inventory, so that the chances of we doing a mistake will always be very, very remote, rather than we maintain inventory in one software and accounting in one software. It is always advisable to maintain both accounting and inventory both in one single software. Okay, friends, one more important point that I do want to drive in this session is that, sir, you are showing me a closing stock of 1,50,780. Let us assume generally whenever we have items in the tally, whenever we create some items and see it in the P&L, what is the basis on which the closing stock will be displayed by tally? Because we create items, we pass purchases, we pass sales, and tally itself will calculate what is a closing stock. But what is a method in which the closing stock will be calculated by tally by default? Is it FIFO? The answer is no. Tally do not value closing stock by FIFO by default. Okay, I'll show you practically. Let us see. Create stock item. So let me create an item by name called ABC, and you can see I want to make it into group into numbers. You can see here, right? The costing method. What is the costing method? Tally by default adopting to any item whenever item is being configured average cost. Am I right? Average cost. But as per our accounting standards, is average cost is a method that can be adopted as per AS2? The answer is no, because AS2 allows us to value either FIFO or weighted average, but not average cost. So that is the reason why please do remember that whenever you are creating an item in the tally, if FIFO is a method that you have mentioned in the accounting policies, change the costing method. Don't select average cost, whatever that comes by default. Change it to FIFO, friends. Change it to FIFO. Okay, Control A, Control A. Sir, I already created ledgers earlier. Now, when you told me that I had noticed my stock valuation policy that Tally had by set by default is weighted average cost, not FIFO. I do want to change it. You can change it, right? So simply go into chart of accounts. You can see all the stock items, right? Chart of accounts, you can see all the stock items. Go one by one. Let us say this is one of the stock item. So if average cost is selected, change it to FIFO. So again, go to this item, Control Enter. You can change it. So Tally Prime Gold, the method that I need to use is FIFO. Control A. Next, silver. Again, I need to change it to FIFO. Okay, sir, I have a plenty of stock items. It's not like 10, 15, and it's not practicable for me to change all the stock items. But whatever it is, you are saying that on the right side, whatever the closing stock that's being displayed is not a FIFO, it's a average cost. If I want to see a different closing stock, different valuation closing stock, simply you have an option called F8 valuation, correct? You can click on that F8 valuation and you can select whether you want to go with FIFO or weighted average, and automatically the closing stock values that you see in the P&L will change. So you need not go and change it for each item as FIFO. Simply you can click on valuation. Sir, what is the reason why now the option is disabled? The reason is now I had not gone with the closing stock valuation based on the item. I have given the closing stock manually. Am I right or not? When it is manually, I am supposed to compute the closing stock as per FIFO manually. Correct. And enter the correct value of closing stock as per FIFO here. But however, if I am not entering the closing stock manually and I am using items for purchases, sales, I have integrated accounts with inventory, then definitely on the right side, you have an option called valuation. Click on FIFO valuation. Then automatically this average cost will change to FIFO closing stocks, and use that profit as the basis for finalization of your books of accounts. Okay, sir, when I change the valuation here from average cost to FIFO and I go back, I come back again to P&L. Will it show me now the FIFO or average cost? It will show average cost only. The reason is by default, whenever you open P&L, Tally values the items based on the inventory line items. That inventory items బట్టి ఉంటుంది. ఇన్వెంటరీ ఐటమ్స్ మనం ఏమి ఇచ్చాము? అన్ని ఇన్వెంటరీ ఐటమ్స్ కి మనం టాలీలో బై డిఫాల్ట్ ఏముంది? యావరేజ్ కాస్ట్ ఉంది. మనం మార్చలేదు. సో క్లోజింగ్ స్టాక్ కూడా యావరేజ్ కాస్టే కనబడుతుంది. ఒక ఆప్షన్ ఏంటంటే అన్ని ఐటమ్స్ కి వాల్యుయేషన్ మెథడ్ ఫిఫో పెట్టేయండి, అప్పుడు గొడవే ఉండదు. సార్ నేను ఇప్పుడు మార్చలేను సార్, నాకు ఆ తలకాయ నొప్పి వద్దు అనుకుంటే సింపుల్ గా P&L కి వచ్చి వాల్యుయేషన్ సెలెక్ట్ చేసి ఫిఫో మార్చండి. క్లోజింగ్ స్టాక్ వాల్యుయేషన్ యాజ్ పర్ ఫిఫో కనబడుతుంది, ప్రాఫిట్ యాజ్ పర్ ఫిఫో కనబడుతుంది. దాన్ని యూజ్ చేసుకోండి ఫైనలైజేషన్ కి. ఓకే ఫ్రెండ్స్, హోప్ దిస్ క్లారిఫైస్. నెక్స్ట్, సో one of the other important year-end procedure is we need to physically verify the closing stock at the godown of the client and ensure the book balances match with the godown physical stocks. If there is any discrepancy, we need to understand the reason for the discrepancy and pass the necessary entries in the books of accounts as well. Okay, so this is about the closing stock. So what did we cover? So one is checking of opening balances, whether they are matching with the last year's signed numbers, display trial balance, F12 opening balance, yes, transactions. Yes. This is how we check the opening balances. Go with the option ledger wise. Correct. Next, verifying the purchases and sales in the books of accounts with the GST portal. And the other leg entity, the CGST ledgers, SGST ledgers, IGST ledgers that we have as on 31st March, whether they are matching with the GST ledgers, which are there in the GST portal. Okay. And verifying the bank balance, whether that is matching with the bank statement or not. Correct, friends? Okay. Next, what else important checks that we are supposed to do? Okay, let me take you through an option called display more reports. Click on display more reports. There is something called as analysis and verification. Am I right or not, friends? Analysis and verification. Click on that. And there is an option called data analysis. Click on data analysis. Okay, so it is what it is asking, verification of chart of accounts. So here it is giving us some insights for an auditor. So generally auditors are interested to know what are all the ledgers that got squared off during the year or not. So that means in the beginning, there is no balance. In the year end, there is no balance. But in between, the balance has come into the account and also the balance has completely got zeroized in that account. Every auditor definitely is interested to look at what are all the accounts that got squared off during the year, which means the opening balance is 0 and the closing balance is 0. Okay, but there are transactions in the year in between. So you can see there are 56 ledgers where the opening balance is 0 and the closing balance is 0, but we do have the debits and credits which are equal. Okay, good. So we can go one by one and we can verify if we on hold verified. If we had verified this and we do not have any suspicion on these particular balances, then simply we can say verified and you can say so everything is proper. Everything is proper and checked. Yeah. So verification note also I am leaving it. So you can see that verification status of this particular ledger was changed to verified. So likewise, every day, whenever we have a time, so we can complete the verification of these accounts and mark it as verified. Again, let me come back. What are all the other options that auditors are interested? Not used ledgers. So that means there were ledgers, but these are unused. Okay, fine. Next, not that means used in the previous years, but not used in the current year. Okay, only there were balances, but there were no transactions. Might be opening balances were incorporated, but there were no transactions in the current year. Correct? So let me open it. Friends, will we be interested to understand the ledgers where there is opening balance, but there is no movement in the current year? Yes. For example, if there is an X account, there is an opening balance, but till now X had not gave us any payment. So that means in this year, there are no transactions, only opening balance was there. How come one party did not pay for more than a year? Am I right or not? So automatically, we might need to check if there is any provision for bad and doubtful debts that we need to provide for that balance. We need to talk to the management and if required, make out a provision. So this will simplify. So that is another point where you can filter down the ledgers where there were balances, but there were no transactions. Next, a ledger which had created or used only in the current year, but which was not there in the previous year. Okay, so this gives us multiple options under exception report, which are very much useful for the auditors. Am I right or not? Next, this is all comes under an item called verification of chart of accounts. And there is also another option called verification of balances, where you can see if the nature of balances, generally you can observe there are certain groups balances which are highlighted in red. Am I right? So when it is highlighted in red, it is something a caution for us. Generally, the loan balances has to be debit balance or credit balance. Credit balance. But here it is reflecting debit balance. Coming to the next one, current liabilities. It has to reflect credit balance liability, but it is reflecting debit balance. So when the closing balances are deviating to the generally standard nature of the balance, which it is supposed to be, they get highlighted. You can even click on the group, automatically it will take you to the ledger account. So here, if you observe, so in one particular party, there is a difference. Am I right? Yeah. And again, current liabilities, you can see certain groups are good. And so we can drill down and understand the reason why the group balance was quite opposite. Might be because of certain ledgers. We need to go back. We need to go down and drill down. What is the ledger which is causing this difference? Okay. So drill down options are always there to fix the reason. Okay. Next one. So this is about verification of balances where you identify a particular group is supposed to have a debit balance, but if it has a credit balance, you will be able to understand. And there are something called as analytical procedures. So I'll just show you, for example, like group, ledger, sundry debtors, token sales. So 25, 26 and 24, 25. So you can understand that the value of the sale versus the closing debtors, the token sales ledger versus total sundry debtors. What is a percentage? What is a percentage? Last year, what is a percentage? This year, what is a percentage? So this is how you can use analytical procedures. So there are multiple options. You can do that comparison by cost center. You can do the comparison by group, by ledger, whatever the options that you have, you can do. Yeah. So analytical procedure is comparing. For example, when debtors had increased compared to last year hugely, automatically then sales, credit sales should also had got increased, correct? So what do we do in analytical procedures? When one parameter had increased, the corresponding should definitely be due to other impact. Example, if debtors had increased, credit sales. So always credit sales versus debtors, correct? Secondly, credit purchases versus trade payables. So when you could correlate the reason for debtors, and if it is due to more credit sales, it makes sense. But there are no credit sales. There is no much increase in the credit sales, but the debtors had got increased significantly. Then this is something that auditor has to go in detail and check the reason. Yeah. So this particular option of analytical procedures will help us compare the credit sales versus debtors, credit purchases versus payables. Correct? Yeah, likewise. Coming to the next one, periodic payments and receipts. You can see periodically AMC charges, whether how it is periodic or not. Generally, what will be periodic ledgers? Tell me, friends. Rent, is it a periodic ledger? Yes. There will be certain payments and receipts which goes periodically. Yeah, like AMC payment that we would have agreed with a vendor, or rent amount that we pay to the owner. So these are all periodic payments and receipts. And repeated transactions. Sometimes what might be happening is there might be the same transaction which multiply the same amount, the same party. They would have duplicated and created 20, 20, 20, 20, 10, 10, 10, 10. Likewise, if there are any transaction which got repeated very frequently, if you go and click here, you'll be able to see the repeated transactions. Okay, repeated transactions. You can see in this total bank account, totally 991.2 is the amounts which had reflected multiple times. If it is genuine, very good, no doubt, no problem. But if it is something that was being done to inflate the numbers, definitely we need to dig in and understand. So this is all these tools are being given by the Tally mainly to ease the work of the auditor and understand the discrepancies or misstatements if there are any in the books of accounts. And cash withdrawals and the deposits to the bank, you can see. So separately, we have a report which shows you what are all the cash deposits and withdrawals. Cash deposits and the withdrawals. Okay. And fixed assets analysis. You can see fixed assets analysis. All fixed assets, opening balances, additions. Next one. Transactions on holidays. So if you observe here, the moment I click on, you can see that there are certain sales invoices, receipts, payments, purchases, which had happened on a holiday. So just for us, whether to check really whether that had happened or not. Okay. On highest and low value transactions also you can see by groups and the ledgers. This will help us for what? Sampling as well. The highest and lowest value transactions by ledgers. So there are 3 transactions. So it filter downs. If there are multiple transactions, we can see the highest and the lowest. You can see highest is 1298 and the lowest is 614 for this ledger. So highest as well as lowest. Next one, stale checks. Yeah, this is very much important, right, friends? Because when a check was issued and what is the time period? What is the validity of the check now once the check is dated? 3 months. 3 months. So if a check is not presented by the counterparty within 3 months, what will happen? That check we call it as stale check and we have to reverse. So though we have recorded that payment was being done because we had issued the check, if the counterparty had not presented the check and not encashed the amount within 3 months, we need to reverse that amount and again restate the liability in our books of accounts. So is there any chance after 3 months for the party to go and present the check? No, no option. He can't. Definitely he'll come back to us and will ask us to issue another check with the latest date. So that is the reason why whenever you had certain checks which you had issued, but they are stale, make sure that liability was reinstated in your books of accounts. And this is the place where usually you can identify the stale checks. So see friends, what is the option? Whatever the option that I had run through you, where is it existing? In the gateway of Tally, go to display more reports and there is an option called analysis and verification. So in that there is an option called data analysis. So these are all multiple verifying things that one auditor can go into and step into to identify any anomalies and to identify if there is any chance of misstatements. We'll be able to identify through these options. And there is also something called as voucher verification. So as we know, sampling is something that we do. Is it practicable when the size of the company is so big? Will you be able to verify all the samples, friends? No, we can't verify. So we'll be going through the total samples and we'll identify, let us say the total purchases are 42 here, month-wise. Let us say I'm going a particular voucher and I am verifying, I'm checking this particular voucher with all the supporting documents. Let us assume that I am okay with this. I am okay with this voucher. I have verified it. So I can simply say verify and I can put a verification. Everything is in on. So I can simply say yes. Okay. Now if I come back, you can see, right? Total vouchers in this particular company for this period are 971, out of which one is sampled and also that one is verified. Correct? So, but is this one is a bigger number? No. The reason is there has to be certain material percentage of the vouchers that we need to check and confirm. So let us assume that sample percentage might be 10, 20, 30, based on which we get an opinion on the total population. Correct. So whether if we identify any misstatements in the vouchers that we had verified, then automatically you need to intensify your audit procedures. You need to increase your sample size. So friends, this helps us to understand what are all the items that you had sampled. So sometimes because even in peer audit also, we might need to definitely have a documentation of what are all the vouchers our audit team had done a verification based on which we formed an opinion on the total. What is the samples that we had verified and what are all the samples based on which we formed an opinion. So this definitely is important for any audit firm to mark those samples which audit firm had verified and finally formed an opinion. Again, if any peer review auditor comes, definitely simply if you can have your tally of the client, which you keep it as a backup, and you will be able to show them that these are all the samples that we had verified, and this is the basis of my opinion. My opinion. Correct, friends? So whether these options will help definitely the auditors or not, 100%, 100%. And if there is any doubt that we have, you can park those doubts. So there are two options here, internal observations and also external clarifications. So you can keep noting it down. So instead of we having our working papers manually, there is always a chance that we might lose. If the papers are physical, there is always a chance that we may lose the papers. So everything is something that you can write it, because we are in digital era, correct? In the digital era, everything is simplified, automated. Just that we need to see where the options are, explore the options and start using it. That's all. And friends, one more important transactions that we do is related party transactions. So there is a separate segment for the related party transactions. So start exploring. If already there are certain users who are using this analysis and verification area, very good. And if there are any other users who had not explored these options of analysis and verification, make sure that you start using this analysis and verification. AV, not audio video. It is not audio video. It is analysis and verification. Friends, one more important point is every company has to maintain their books of accounts only in such accounting software which has a feature of audit trail, correct? So that means it should be able to capture the data of a transaction, who generated, when it got generated, with what values it got generated, when it got altered, with what values it got altered, which fields got altered. Everything should get captured. And that accounting software should not give an option to the user to disable or to tamper this particular edit log. Very, very important, friends. This is a requirement coming from Companies Act 2013. So through the circulars given by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, every company must maintain books of accounts only in such accounting software which has a feature of audit trail. Audit trail. So that means we should be able to audit the trail. Okay, sir. The reason is how, to whom it is important, mostly tell me, friends, to auditors, right? Because as auditors, will we be interested to check what are all the transactions which were being altered after they were created? Yes or no? Yes. So let us go and see where we can see all the alterations that had happened in the books of accounts. So if you observe, friends, from the gateway of tally, so display more reports. So you can find an option called edit log summary. I'm repeating again, edit log summary. So you can see how many alterations happened. It will give you. Okay. So let's pick one, friends. Sales. Sales. In the month of April, there is one transaction which was altered. Am I right? So let's open this, friends. So it was altered. It was altered. So what do you do? If I need to see version 1, version 2, and all of that, so click on F9, all versions. So you'll be able to see what is the date on which initially this transaction was created, on 18th April, evening 8:18. And there was an alteration that has happened. So I can click on, so version 1, version 2. You can see what is the changes that had happened. What is the change, friends? Date. Initially, the date was captured as 15th April by mistake, but it was later on changed to 10th April 2025. That is a change that had happened from the first version to the second version for this transaction. And what else? Effective date. So there is a change in the effective date as well. Other than that, is there any change in the any other description? Nothing, right? So, okay, fine, good. So there is no suspicion in this particular transaction. Okay, friends, this is how you need to check, friends. So in the month of May, in the month of June, in the month of July. So these are all the transactions that got altered after it was created. Just it's an hint to an auditor. Check what are the changes that the company had done. If there is a mistake and they had done the modification, if there was a mistake and if they had done the modification, and if that modification is genuine, there is nothing wrong, because there is always a chance that we might do mistakes and we might need to correct it at later point of time. But ensure whether those corrections that were done are proper or not, or if a transaction was altered to inflate the turnover or to suppress the turnover or increase the purchases or suppress the purchases, then this is the best area where we can use the option of edit log summary and understand what are all the transactions that got altered, and then check whether those changes are proper. If those changes are proper, no issue. If those changes are not proper, then this is something that you need to ensure you verify thoroughly this particular area as an auditor. Correct? Yeah. So take the benefit of this option called edit log summary, friends. So now what are the two things that I had just explained as the best options that an auditor can use at the year end for the audit purpose? One is analysis and verification, AV, not audio video, but analysis and verification. And the other option is called edit log summary. And there is also something called as an exception reports where you can see negative ledgers. So that means basically, debtor balance should have debit balance, but if it is having a credit balance, you can see here negative stocks, overdue receivables, overdue payables, and everything you can see. And cancelled vouchers, this is also important. So this is something that you can find it under exceptions, the exception reports. Okay. So these are the three options which an auditor at the year end has to check thoroughly. And friends, the data balances, creditor balances, we need to check whether the balances as per the books is matching with the counterparty balances. We'll be asking the client to also give us the counterparty ledgers. For certain samples, we are not supposed to even rely on the ledger shared by the client. Instead, we need to send out an external confirmation to the vendors and also to the customers, and they need to reply to the auditor directly. And then auditor has to check whether the balance as per books of accounts is matching with the counterparty ledger balances or not. So external confirmations, that is also a care that has to be taken at the time of closure of books of accounts. And friends, sometimes to understand if there is trend is proper or not, ratio analysis is also something that you can take the help of. In Tally, you will have different ratio analysis that you can take the benefit of. So generally, what is the industry gross profit percentage? What is your client gross profit percentage? What is the industry net profit percentage? What is your client's net profit percentage? So these are all something that we can check the percentages and understand what is the area that we need to focus upon, which helps an auditor to plan well his audit procedures. And friends, once we are done with the year end, let us say, then we need to continue our transactions in the next year as well. Some people would prefer to use the same tally for the next year as well. Am I right or not? Yes or no? Yes. Simple, friends. If you want to use the same tally without splitting it, you can continue to use as well. There is no mandatory rule that you have to split. Okay. For example, sir, if I want to post any transaction next year, how, sir? Simple. Let us say I'll just change the current period. Am I right? So instead of having the current period as April 25 to March 26, I'll have it as April 26 to March 27. That's all. So now we are in which date? Which period? April 26 to March 27. You can pass an entry even in this date also. April date also. Voucher. So receipt, cash, Sales payment, I'll record it as payment. Control A. 1 rupee, right? 1 rupee. Control A. Am I right or not? Is it posted? Yes, it's posted. So that means in the same tally, you can continue to use the same tally for recording the transactions for the next year as well. Okay. So that option is also there. But sometimes what happens is some clients prefer to split the financial year. The reason might be one, there is a huge transaction, sir. If I continue to post the transactions in the same tally, in the same company, since already there were huge thousands of transactions, it's getting delayed for an option to save and all that. Then okay, no problem. If you want to split also, you can split it. If you want to split, you can split it. Okay. So where is the option of splitting? Okay, let me go back. April 24, April 2024 to March 20, April 25 to March 26. So there is an option in data split, correct? Data split. So verify data, definitely before you split, make sure that you click an option called verify data before splitting the data, so that the chances of bugs, corruption, files getting corrupt will be very, very, very minimal. Okay, verify data. So what is the company that you want to verify before splitting it? Let us say, so test. Yes. Data verification. What did it say? No errors found. Very good. Now it is ready for the split. So what do I do? Import testing or test. So data, split data. I'll click on split. So it will ask me what is the date from which you want the next financial year to happen. Okay. So I'll click on 1st April 2026 from split date. From split date. Enter. You can see one more company gets created. Okay, created. You can see. So there is another company. And are there any transactions entered? No. But you will get opening balances, friends. If there are, there will be opening balances which will be coming, and you can simply use that particular company for passing the transactions of the next year. So will you be able to see any transactions in this company? No, because you can clearly no vouchers entered. No vouchers entered. So P&L will be plain. Balance sheet would be there because opening balances will come or not. Yes. So that's the reason why you will be able to find the balance sheet values, but will not be able to find any P&L values because there were no vouchers that got posted from April 2026. Right, friends? Yeah. So can we use the same company? So same company also to capture multiple years data? Yes, that option is always there. But no, sir, I do want to split the company. Yes, you can even split the company likewise. Okay, so this is second option. This is the year-end checks that one has to make sure. So the first topic is completed. The first topic is completed, and I'll get into the another topic, importing bank statement. Importing bank statement. Tell me, friends, when receipts, payments, contra vouchers are being entered manually, are there chances of mistakes? 100% yes. Because sometimes our juniors, instead of posting the receipts, they might be posting it as payments. Instead of payments, they will be posting it as receipts. And there will be certain clerical errors with regard to the amounts that they enter. And also the dates that they use. There can also be a mistake in the dates as well. So again, for understanding where the mistake is, again, it requires a lot of time for them. It is always better not to go with a manual bank statement accounting if you are using Tally. If it is 1 or 2 transactions, that's okay. But if there are multiple transactions and if you do not want the errors to happen and if you want that accounting to happen so quick, just use import option, import bank statement into Tally, import bank statement into Tally. I'll show you practically how that will work. I'll just in front of you, I'll In 5 minutes, I'll import all my transactions of this year. Let's see, friends. Yes, I'll just go into net banking. I'll just go into net banking. Let me download the bank statement in front of you. Yeah, I'll be downloading the bank statement, friends, account statement. So in the account statement, let me click on current financial year. But please ensure that you select the option called Excel. Download the bank statement in Excel. So it's getting downloaded. Okay. Let me save it on desktop. Let me open and show it to you. Okay, friends. Not this one, but bank statement. Let me show the bank statement. You can check, friends. So how many entries were there? Totally 1488 entries, correct? 1488 entries were there. 1488 entries. Okay. Now what I do is I simply import the bank statement. Let me create a company in front of you. Company, create. So Badarinath N. So Telangana, books of starting from 25. Okay, done. Company got created. One ledger I need to create. Correct, friends? What is that ledger? HDFC Bank. HDFC Bank. Okay. Grouped under bank accounts. Under account number, IFSC code, bank name. So let me select it as HDFC Bank. So this is very important step because many times certain people get a doubt and they ask me, sir, I'm trying to import the bank statement, but it's not working. So the reason is when I go and check their ledger configuration, they are not selecting the bank name here from the list of banks that comes by default. Okay. So ensure that the bank name don't enter manually. You need to select from the drop down list of tally. This is important point. Okay. Control A, Control A. That's all. Let me try importing, friends. Import bank statement. But friends, opening balance should we enter or not? Yes. The reason is I have created the company currently this year. So will the tally know what is the opening balance for this ledger? No. So let me enter. So minus withdrawal, right? So let me put it as plus. So 16,76,000. Alter, ledger, HDFC Bank, opening balance, Control V. Balance debit or credit? Debit. Opening balance I have given manually. Opening balance. Okay, good. Now let me close. Let me close. Let me close. Now I'm getting into tally. Import bank statement. So import. So it is asking me where the file is. Select from drive, desktop. Let me select it, supported. So it will show me the supported files in the desktop. What is the name of the file that starts with today? The date is 20th March. So this is the file. Am I right, friends? 20th March, third one. Okay, show preview. As you can see here, friends, tally is reading the entire bank statement, which has more than around 1400 transactions, right? Yeah. So you can see on the bottom, there are 81 transactions further to the screen. Just click on import. So everything is getting imported into tally. So new entries imported successfully 1488. Click on bank reconciliation summary. Sir, this is BRS screen. Perfect. Very good. This is a BRS screen. What it is showing? There were 475 deposits in this period in the bank statement and 1013 withdrawals in the bank statement. However, you don't have corresponding receipts and payments entered in the books of accounts. Correct. But now I do not want to manually create the entries in the books because now I have the entries here in the bank statement. Correct, friends? So these are all the entries which are in the bank statement, Now, what we can do, let us say for the repeated transactions, there is a certain party to whom you get an amount regularly therefrom. Example like Control F, Board to JS3. Then let me click on that. And you can identify that there is a customer from whom we get the amount regularly, correct? We get regularly. So regular customer. So what we can do, simply select all the entries, and on the right side, you have an option called create voucher or create multiple vouchers. So if it is one entry that you have selected, it will be a create voucher. If you have selected multiple entries, it will be a multi voucher. Correct, friends? Now, for all the transactions, what is the ledger that you have to give? Only one common ledger, correct? So instead of selecting one by one, you can simply do a backspace. Under common ledger, create an item called create party name, create a party name. Okay. And the sundry debtors, friends, sundry debtors. Control A. You can see for all the transactions, the same ledger got replicated or not. Yes. Simply say Control A and accept the screen. Now in the black, a transaction was recorded now, and this blue color is what is appearing in the bank statement. Now everything got interlinked by tally in the BRS process. Now simply we have to click as mark as regular and reconcile. Click on it. That's all. Click on yes. Friends, whatever all the transactions that you had seen now, everything got posted. Where it got posted, let's go back and check, correct? So display accounts ledger, you can see whether what are all the transactions that we had just seen got posted or not. Yes, posted. In the same way, friends, sir, I want to go back to the same screen. Simple. Use Alt G, go to bank reconciliation summary, bank reconciliation. So click on it. Again, you will go to the same screen. Now identify who is another party from where you get the amounts regularly. Okay. So again, you can say Control F and then you can enter the name. For example, gas subsidy if you get. So Control F, subsidy. Yeah, friends, this is a subsidy amount that I receive regularly. You can see these are all the different times where in my personal account, LPG gas subsidy got created. What I need to do simply create multi voucher. If it is subsidy, you know what is the ledger that it has to get posted, drawings, right? Because this is my personal transaction which had hit my bank account. So common ledger. So create from here itself, you can create drawings. Grouping capital account. Control A, drawings. So for all the transactions, the same ledger got replicated. Control A. Mark as regular and reconcile. Yes. Done, friends. So these transactions also got posted. Likewise, whatever all the repetitive transactions that you find, it's simple that you can use Control F option and give a common ledger for all the transactions. Sir, now I had filtered all the repetitive transactions. Now all the transactions that you see on the screen are unique. Then do one thing. Simply select all the transactions, control space. The moment you select control space, all the transactions will get selected, and just select an option called create multi voucher. That's all, friends. Here you can give ledger names for each transaction. Kokku Ramalakshmi is the person who gave this payment to us. So create Alt C. So Kokku Ramalakshmi. Create sundry debtors. Control A. That's all. Venkateshwara Rao. Alt C. Venkateshwara Rao. Sundry debtors. Done. Khatam. Am I right, friends? Yeah. So, Ponnoju Preeti, Alt C. Ponnoju Preeti. Sundry datas. Control it. Likewise, in one single screen, you can assign the ledgers to which that receipt has to go and payments has to go. So if you use this method, will the time that we need to spend for creating the receipts, payments, contra entries, would it be more? Would it consume more? No. Friends, I know that there are a lot of manpower crisis that the industry faces. This is the best option where wherever automation is possible, make sure that we adopt automation and simplify our work. And also not only that the work gets faster, but the chance of we making an error with regard to a date, remarks, the receipt getting posted as payment, payment getting posted as a receipt, and entering a wrong amount, the chances are completely zero, right? Okay. So let me do one thing, friends, for the ease of closing it now. I'll create an account called suspense now. Suspense account. So grouped under some Sunday debtors or some debtors, whatever it is. Let me park. So suspense. Yeah, you can see all the transactions. The same ledger got replicated. Am I right or not? Yes, perfect. Now I'm saying control E. Control E. Mark as regular and reconcile. Yes. Later on, I'll go into suspense and move it to the respective ledger. I can do that. So, but the transactions gets posted. See, now all the you can do you find anything in receipts? No, because everything we moved it to suspense. Now coming to withdrawals, the same thing can be done, friends. So control space, let us say, create multi voucher, suspense, make it as a common ledger. Apply the same ledger to all the control A, because I do want to show it to you whether the bank balance matches or not after we pass all the entries. And that's the reason why, without taking much time, I'm moving all the transactions to a suspense account so that it comes into the books of accounts. Okay, mark as regular and reconcile. Yes. Okay, done. Perfect. Friends, do you see all the receipts, payments, everything got posted into the books of accounts? Yes. Okay, let me check the bank balance. Let's check the bank balance once. What is the bank balance as on the last date? 3,264 rupees. Let's see in the bank statement what is the bank balance. The closing bank balance. $3,264. Am I right, friends? Is it perfect? 3,264. 3,264. The same balance also you can see has 3,264. So now do we have a confidence that when we use that import functionality of the bank statement into Tally, it gives us the right numbers, Undoubtedly, it may be 1,000 transactions, 10,000, 50,000 transactions. In fraction of seconds, we'll be able to get all the transactions into Tally. Just that we need to spend our time, not for worrying about whether we have selected right voucher type, have we entered the right amount, have we entered the right date. Let's not focus on that. Let's focus only on have we given a right ledger. Have we given a right ledger is only a point that we have to concentrate. Okay, friends. So this, I hope now this explanation is clear with regard to importing of bank statement into Tally, and there is no requirement that now users has to pass the receipts payments manually. Okay, friends. Now, the third topic that I want to start with is importing purchases data from Excel to Tally. Importing purchase data from Excel to Tally. Let me take an example. This is a test company that I created. And now You can see if there are any transactions that got posted in this. Okay, let me open another company. Okay, now in this company, are there any transactions? No, right? Nothing, nil, nil. Okay, balance sheet, nil. P&L, nil. Perfect. But there were ledgers that I created, friends. There were certain ledgers that I created. Let me show you what are all the ledgers that I had created here. I'll go to chart of accounts, show you the ledgers in this company. Friends, cash account and P&L account are the ledgers that I don't create. The reason is it comes by default for every company. Tally itself creates for us the P&L account and cash account. So what are the other ledger accounts that I had created? CGST input, IGST input, SGST input, and also purchases registered and rounding off expense. And this is what I created, right? One more ledger I will create, friends. Rounding of income. Create ledger rounding of income. Group under indirect expense controlling. So what are the ledgers that I had created in this fresh company, new company? Tell me, purchases registered, CGST import, SGST import, IGST import, and also what else? The rounding of expense and rounding of income. Let me show you a GSTR2B data that was downloaded from the portal. Friends, this is the GSTR2B data that I had downloaded from a portal. A sample example. Right? So this is a what? GSTR2B data. Am I right? How many entries are there, friends? 202 entries are there. 202 entries are there. 202. To enter all these purchase entries manually, you can say how much time it would take? Around 2 days for a person? Yes. Let's do in not more than 2 minutes. Whatever that data, if we do manually, which takes 2 days, let's do it in 2 minutes. Let me close this. Let me close this. I did a mapping template, friends. I did a mapping template already, and I'll show you the magic first. Import. But friends, I'll just tell you one. What are all the ledgers that we also need to have before we import transactions? The party ledgers, am I right? Party ledgers. So if you observe in the GSTR2B that I downloaded from GST portal, I had added few things manually, friends. I'll just show you what are they. Rounding of expense and rounding of income. I created it manually. Will it be there when we downloaded the 2B from the GST portal? No, I created manually. So there are certain rounding of things. You can see here rounding of expense and here rounding of income. Rounding of income. For some transactions, rounding off won't be applicable, but for some transactions, rounding off will be applicable. But rounding off amount, you will not be able to find it in. You will not be able to find it in GSTR2B. So we need to compute manually, which I did it. And let me also show you one more. In GSTR2B, there is something called as trade name or legal name, correct? Trade name or legal name. Because I need to create party ledgers. I need to create party ledgers. Should I create party ledgers one by one? No, I'll create at one stretch. I'll show you, wait. So first, before importing the transactions, import the masters. Import masters. Okay, right? What is a file from which the masters had to be imported? From the file by name called GSTR2B, which I have just shown you. What is a sheet where the masters are available? In the B2B tab. And what is a mapping template that we need to use? So I need to select that mapping template. Okay, if it is existing. So you can see vendor ledger creation. Vendor ledger creation is a mapping template that I created. And ignore duplicates. I need to select it. How many ledgers are getting imported? Okay, imported, completed successfully. Friends, let's go to chart of accounts. Let's see ledgers. Let's see ledger views. You can see Correct, friends? Did I import all the ledgers in a less than a minute? In a 30-second span? Yes, perfect. Next, transactions also I need to import. Am I right? So let's do one thing. Now let me go back to import option, import transactions, import transactions. So GSTR2B, select B2B tab, and purchases from GSTR2B is a mapping template that I had designed, and let me enter it. So how many purchase transactions are there? Two not to purchase transactions are there. Two not to lines are there. So just I say import. Imported successfully. That's all, friends. Purchases. Let's see. What is the total value of purchases? 33 lakhs, 5,654. Am I right? Okay. Let's check in GSTR2B. What is the total value of the purchases? Let's go into taxable value. Let's see. Friends, you can see I am zooming it. 35,63,305. I'm going into tally. Excel 35,63,305. In tally also, you'll be able to see. But there might be certain things that we might need to check. Got it. Years, friends. Yes. Period. I think there were some transactions with March 25 date. So that's the reason why April 24 to March 26 I will select. Okay. Now you can see 35,63,305. Now taxable value. Yeah, you can see, friends, 35,63,305. Am I right? Because in GSTR2B, it had even given me certain transactions with dates of previous year, which is 31st March 2025. So even in my tally also, I had to select the same period, right? So hence, in order to avoid the doubt, I had selected April 24 to March 26 total period. And you can see the value, which is 35,63,305, 35 lakhs. If a person had to sit and enter all the transactions manually, it's not a surprise that it would take around 2 to 3 days. That too, the chances of mistakes definitely will always be there if there are juniors who enters it. So it's always good that do automation. Don't have the transactions manually keyed in. Let's use the mapping table. Let's use the mapping table option in Tally, which is already there. Just we need to map. What is mapping? Friends, simple friends. Here, this column is called CGST. Am I right? But for me, I call it as what? CGST input. This here, the name is state oblique UT tax, but I call it as SGST input. Likewise, the names that I have in Tally is different to the names that I have it in Excel. Simply, I create a mapping template, mapping table. Once I create a mapping table, my workload gets very easy. My workload gets reduced, and I had created a mapping table exactly as per GSTR2B format, so that for any client, simply I tell my staff, download GSTR2B, import into Tally. Okay, because I designed mapping template not from some other new Excel sheet, directly from whatever the Excel sheet that we have, with that it gets downloaded from the GST portal. So it's always good that we use the same template so that there need not be a duplication where you need to copy paste this content from some other. And after the end of the session, I'll share you a video link. I'll share you a video link in the WhatsApp group where the complete explanation of how to create mapping tables in Tally step by step. It will be around 1.5 hours to 2 hours video, which explains you in detail. If you can simply understand it, learn it, you can simply do all your purchases. It may be 1,000 entries, 10,000 entries, 1 lakh entries. You can do it in fraction of seconds. You can get all the data into Tally. Okay, friends. So this is another important point that I do thought to make the people aware that starting from Tally Prime 6.0, okay, the import functionality, mapping templates, product feature enhancements had happened, but which many people aren't aware. So through this forum, I could throw a light on if we could really use those options of mapping tables. Friends, I have not used any plugin. I have not used any plugin, third-party plugin. Simply whatever all the inbuilt features that we have in Tally, just we had used it. That's all. And let me go into the next topic that we have for the today. The last topic is Bharat Connect functionality usage. The last topic, Bharat Connect functionality usage. What exactly Bharat Connect functionality? Okay, before I explain this functionality, let's try to recall the days where if I need to transfer an amount to you, you need to share me your bank account, correct? Then I need to add that bank account in my net banking and I need to transfer it to you. But today, there is a technology called UPI, Unified Payment Interface. Who developed the technology of UPI? Government of India through NPCI. What is NPCI? National Payment Corporation of India, right? So that means every customer might belong to a different bank. I might have an account with HDFC. You might have an account with ICICI, but that doesn't bother. The reason is HDFC and ICICI, there is a common platform that government had brought, which is UPI, Unified Payment Interface. The government developed a technology, NPCI developed a technology and asked PhonePe, asked Paytm, asked Google Pay, whoever are the payment aggregators, they have asked them to adopt the technology developed by NPCI. So when all these platforms started the UPI technology developed by NPCI, now you can see whatever the bank account that you might have your account with, though it might not be the same bank what I have, still just by knowing your mobile number, I'll be able to transfer the amount to your bank account. As simple as such. The reason is all the different banks works under the same platform, which is UPI, which is developed by NPCI. In the same way, why can't exchange of invoices also happens from one system to another system? Why should it be manual? Why should it be manual? If really, if my sale invoice goes into the ERP of the software of customer, through the my sale invoice, he'll be able to make out a purchase invoice. Am I right or not? If there are 100 inventory items, why should he again create all 100 inventory items? He'll be able to see my sale invoice, and through my sale invoice, he'll be able to create a purchase invoice. And after he makes the payment, his payment voucher comes and gets reflected in my tally, where from that I create a receipt voucher. What is the advantage of this? Duplication. There is no duplication. So that means here who is working hard? Only one person is working hard. Earlier, two persons, but now it is only one person. That is one advantage. Saving of time, saving of time. Okay. Coming to the one. Second, what is another advantage? There cannot be a mistakes, because now when the things are manual, there is always a chance that there can be a mistake. But if the things are automated, if my sale invoice is coming and sitting in your ERP as a purchase invoice, and you can create a purchase invoice from there, the chances of mistakes had gone. So advantage is that the chance of mistakes will go off, and real-time exchange of invoices happens between different systems. Now a question comes, sir, one company is having the data in Tally, other one is having the data in Joho books. Still, will the exchange of invoices happens between the two? The answer is yes, because Joho also had integrated their software to that of Bharat Connect. Tally also had integrated their software to that of Bharat Connect, developed by NPCI. Just like how for payments, UPI is a technology for exchange of invoices. Now the technology is Bharat Connect. Bharat Connect. Through, but what is the condition for using Bharat Connect? GST. Only when you have a GST number, you will be able to apply for a Bharat Connect ID. I'm repeating again. Only when you have a GST number, you will be able to get a Bharat Connect ID. And if you have a Bharat Connect ID, you can simply exchange the invoices. Okay. So let me see if I have a video. I'll try to play it to you, friends. This will help you understand how Bharat Connect works. Okay, so this is also an awareness video where what I thought was if every GST connected person also gets a Bharat Connect ID, simply instead of along with we sharing the invoice manually, we can also directly share the invoice to their ERP system. Okay, and the invoice goes in a fraction of seconds, as simple as such. So this is also something that can be adopted. I will also try sharing this video in the group where you people, whenever you get a time, you can go through this Bharat Connect video. And also I will give you certain demonstration videos, links where how to enable Bharat Connect, how to get Bharat Connect ID. Those demonstration videos are also available. Okay, so the detailed links, I'll try to share it to you in the WhatsApp group. Okay, and now we do have another 15 minutes. So I take this time to have a Q&A. So if there are any users who has any questions with regard to the concepts, topics that we have discussed till now, you can feel free to ask the questions. Yeah, sir, share the recorded classes. Yes, for sure. I think this session is getting recorded and it will be posted in the YouTube. And once it has been posted, we'll be notifying you in the HCAS channel, YouTube channel. You'll be able to see all the recorded classes of the various faculties or trainers who takes the sessions on a regular day-to-day basis. Very good. So I think many of the people had asked, sir, can we have this session, a video recorded session? 100% yes. So the moment, but may not be the today. I think the team will take certain time and they'll try to show it to you. So I think rather than we having the questions in the chat group, whoever has questions, they can raise their hand and the moderator can help us unmute you and you can definitely explain what the question that you have.
Sir, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. మిస్ అయిన వాళ్ళకి మాత్రం చాలా మిస్ అయినట్టే సార్. మీ లాస్ట్ సెషన్ లో బ్యాంక్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఇంపోర్ట్ అప్పుడు చూసి అప్పటి నుంచి మేము స్టార్ట్ చేసాం. చాలా ఈజీగా ఉంది సార్. మ్యాపింగ్ ఒకటే మేము నెక్స్ట్ మళ్ళీ నేర్చుకోవాలి. సార్ శాంప్లింగ్ లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ మేము యూట్యూబ్ లో ఒక వీడియో చూసి ట్రై చేసాము. మాకు ఎందుకో శాంప్లింగ్ అంత కంఫర్ట్ గా మాకు కన్వీనియంట్ గా అనిపించలేదు. మేము ఎక్కడో మిస్ అయ్యామేమో అని కూడా అనిపించింది. అది ఇంకొంచెం ఎలాబరేట్ చేసి ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయగలరా సార్ శాంప్లింగ్?
యా నెక్స్ట్ ఎప్పుడన్నా టాపిక్ తీసుకున్నప్పుడు ఓన్లీ శాంప్లింగ్ మీద తీసుకుందాం మ్యామ్. ఇప్పుడు యాక్చువల్ గా టోటల్ ఫీచర్స్ ని ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేద్దామని తీసుకున్నాము. ప్లస్ దీని రిలేటెడ్ వీడియోస్ నా దగ్గర ఉంటాయి, యూట్యూబ్ లో టాలీ సొల్యూషన్స్ లో ఉంటాయి. బట్ నా దగ్గర ఆల్రెడీ నేను ఫిల్టర్ చేసుకున్న ఉన్నాయి. నేను గ్రూప్ లో మీకు షేర్ చేస్తాను అవన్నీ కూడా.
అలాగే సార్. అండ్ సార్ అనాలిసిస్, అనలిటిక్స్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా మేము ఎక్కువగా ఎప్పుడూ ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేయలేదు. కానీ ఈ రోజు మీరు చెప్పిన తర్వాత మాత్రం అవన్నీ ఉన్నాయి కదా, ఎందుకు మనం యూజ్ చేయలేదు అని అనిపించింది సార్ సీరియస్లీ. ఇంకొకటి ఎడిట్ లాగా ఉంది అని తెలుసు కానీ ఎక్కడ ఉంది అనేది కూడా ఎప్పుడు మేము గమనించుకోలేదు. మీరు చెప్పాక వెంటనే అక్కడ క్రాస్ చెక్ చేసుకుని ఓకే ఇలా చెక్ చేసుకోవాలి అనేది కూడా తెలుసుకున్నాం సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ మ్యామ్. సార్ ప్రభు గారు.
సార్ గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ సార్.
గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ అండి.
Sir, one small clarification.
Yes, sir.
Sir, while splitting the data, whether that business detail will come automatically for next year? Do you understand what I am asking?
No, sir. No, I didn't get you, sir.
After splitting the data.
Okay. After splitting the data, only ledgers will come, sir. Opening balances will come.
Yes. That
it will come,
business details, it will not come or not?
No, previous transactions it won't show. Previous transactions it won't show because that is the purpose of we splitting it.
No. Actually, I want to know previous closing balance is 1 lakh rupees. Suppose, for example, A balance is 1 lakh rupees.
Correct.
In that 1 lakh, 5 bill-wise details are there. In closing balance 1 lakh, 5 bills are unsettled. That will reflect. After splitting, whether that 5 bill-wise details will come or whether simply 1 lakh will come?
It won't come, sir. It won't come. It will only show it as an opening balance, which is brought forward. But if you want to drill down, you will not be able to drill down.
We need to feed.
You need to open the last year tally. You need to open the last year tally and then check it. And that's the reason why what I'm saying is, in case of certain companies where the transactions are not that huge, because earlier there are chances where certain people want to split the data because there might be delay in saving the voucher and all that. But now I don't think, despite of the fact that you have huge number of transactions also, tally getting slowed down, there is no such question at all. Even you can continue in the same company. If you really always want to refer the previous year transactions also, you can definitely continue the next year transactions also in the same tally, just that we change the accounting period. But the moment you split it, you will only be getting an opening balance in the next year, but you will not be able to drill down how that opening balance got arrived until and unless you open the last year tally and check.
Okay. We will get simply single amount only. We
Yes,
cannot
sir.
able to drill the bills. Okay.
Correct, sir.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Yeah. Jay Sudha garu.
Sir, thanks, sir. The session was good. My clarification is on the bank statement import that we make, you converted it to Excel. Suppose if I get details in PDF format.
Okay,
so
ma'am.
what is the option that I have?
Yeah. So I understand the concern that there are certain clients who share the bank statement in PDF, but currently Tally only recognize Excel format, for which what I am doing as a turnaround is, let us say I have one client who has an HDFC bank account. There is another customer which I have it in Excel. There is another customer who gave it in PDF, another customer. What I am doing is I am converting that PDF into Excel through online. And the data, I am making it aligned to my Excel format of HDFC, because PDF format of HDFC Bank and Excel version of HDFC both differs, but Tally recognizes only the Excel format. So if I have one Excel format of one bank, that is sufficient. I can, if another HDFC customer comes, I'll try to export that into PDF to Excel. I take the data and I will try to fit in the Excel version which I have. Now I have a folder where I have HDFC Bank template, ICICI Bank template, SBI template, because I myself use nearly 3 different banks, and I myself has 3 bank accounts, and certain customers will be sharing Kotak Mahindra. I'll immediately create it as a template so that another Kotak customer, if he comes and if he gives it in PDF format, I'll be able to use that into fit into it here. Hope my answer.
Yes, sir.
Clarifies.
So if I get a PDF, first I should convert and then convert it into the respective bank's template and then input.
Yes, ma'am. And the templates are available because, for example, now I have an HDFC bank. Client had also had an HDFC bank, but client is not giving me Excel, but I have I can download it in Excel. I use my Excel template. I delete my data in the bottom, and I keep my client's data there and import. That's all. It gets done.
Understand, sir. Thank you.
So Venkata Nagashiva garu.
మనకి ఇప్పుడు భారత్ కనెక్ట్ నుంచి ఒక ఇన్వాయిస్ వచ్చింది అనుకోండి. సో అది మనం ఈఆర్పిలో అదే టాలీలో ఎంటర్ చేస్తాం. ఇంకో వే మనం ఇంపోర్ట్ చేసాం అనుకోండి, 2B నుంచి ఇంపోర్ట్ చేసాము. సో హౌ టు ఫైండ్ అవుట్ ద డూప్లికేట్స్? లెట్స్ సే we already posted some purchase entries and we are importing the data from 2B. Yes, 2B. So how to connect the duplicate? How to identify the duplicates and make sure?
నేను చేసే చెక్ చెప్తానండి. ఇప్పుడు స్క్రీన్ షేర్ లోనే ఉంది కాబట్టి, ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక క్లయింట్ ది నాది ఓపెన్ చేస్తాను ఇక్కడ. సో ఒక కంపెనీ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ తీసుకుందామండి, ఒక క్లయింట్. ఇందులో నేను ఏం చేస్తానంటే ప్రతి మంత్ DOG GSTR 2B. ఓకే, సో అంటే టాలీలో నేను GSTR 2Bకి వెళ్తా. వెళ్ళి ఆల్వేస్ నేను పీరియడ్ని సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకొని, ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అక్టోబర్ టు అక్టోబర్ సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకున్నాను అనుకోండి. ఇప్పుడు మీరు అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తే ఇది నాకు పర్చేజ్ ఇన్వాయిసెస్ డేటా. ఓకే, బట్ GSTR 2Bలో ఏమున్నాయి? ఇది నా టాలీలో ఉన్నాయి, బట్ GSTR 2Bలో ఏమున్నాయి అనేది నేను GST పోర్టల్కి వెళ్లకుండానే ఇక్కడికి డేటాని ఇంపోర్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే, ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ అనే ఆప్షన్ ద్వారా ఎక్స్చేంజ్ అనే ఆప్షన్ ద్వారా ఆల్ జిఎస్టీ ఆప్షన్స్లో డౌన్లోడ్ జిఎస్టీ రిటర్న్స్ అని కొట్టి కాన్ఫిగర్ కొట్టి పీరియడ్ అక్టోబర్ టు ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అక్టోబర్ సెలెక్ట్ చేసి అనుకున్నాం. కంట్రోల్ చేయండి, డౌన్లోడ్, send OTP. Let me get that OTP from the people.
డైరెక్ట్ గా అది జిఎస్టీ తో కనెక్ట్ అయింది డైరెక్ట్ గా. ఓకే,
అవునండి, జస్ట్ వన్ టైం సెట్టింగ్ కదా, అంటే 200. yes. ఇక్కడ మనం చూస్తే నాకు GSTR 2B ట్రాన్సాక్షన్స్ వచ్చాయి, ఇక్కడ నా బుక్స్ వచ్చాయి. అంటే డూప్లికేషన్ జరిగింది అంటే ఆటోమేటిక్ గా నా GSTR 2Bకి నా బుక్స్ లో ఉన్న పర్చేజెస్ కి ఇన్పుట్ కి మ్యాచ్ కాదు కాబట్టి ఆ విధంగా నేను డూప్లికేట్స్ ఏమన్నా ఉంటే ఐడెంటిఫై చేస్తా. సో ప్రతి నెల నేను నా పర్చేజ్ డేటాని GSTR 2B నుంచి ఫ్లో అయ్యే డేటాతో రికన్సైల్ చేసుకుంటా, కాబట్టి నాకు డూప్లికేషన్స్ అనే ఛాన్సెస్ ఉండవు. సో ఈ ఆప్షన్
దీంట్లో మనకి డూప్లికేట్స్ లేవని ఎలా కన్ఫర్మ్ అయింది? ఇక్కడ 14
ఈ రెండు నెంబర్స్ మ్యాచ్ అయినాయి, ఎందుకంటే GSTR 2Bలో డూప్లికేషన్స్ ఉండవు కదా. ఇందాక మనం ఒకటేమో మీరు భారత్ కనెక్ట్ ద్వారా వేసుకున్నానన్నారు, ఒకటి ఇంకొక ద్వారా వేసుకుంటే 2 ట్రాన్సాక్షన్స్ అన్నప్పుడు IGST డబుల్ అయిపోద్ది కదా. GSTR 2Bలో ఇన్వాయిస్ ఒకసారే ఉంటది, బట్ మీ బుక్స్ లో 2 సార్లు ఉంటది. అంటే యువర్ IGST అండ్ GSTR 2B IGST won't match. When you are reconciling the differences, automatically you will be able to find out the root cause of the difference.
ఓకే ఓకే.
ఇప్పుడు ఈ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ ఉందనుకోండి ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఇది కౌంటర్ పార్టీకి మనకి మ్యాచ్ అయింది, బట్ ఈ మిగతా ట్రాన్సాక్షన్స్ అన్ని కూడా బ్లూ కలర్ లో ఉన్నాయంటే GSTR 2Bలో ఉన్నాయి, బ్లాక్ కలర్ లో లేవు అంటే నా బుక్స్ లో లేవు. సో ఇప్పుడు నాకు టై అవ్వాలి అంటే నా బుక్స్, నేను ఈ పర్చేజ్ ఇన్వాయిస్ అన్ని కూడా నా బుక్స్ లో క్రియేట్ చేసుకుంటేనే నా GSTR 2B మ్యాచ్ అవుతుంది. ఒకే ఒక ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ మ్యాచ్ అయింది.
ఓకే, బ్లాక్ కలర్ లో ఉన్నది మాత్రం ఆల్రెడీ ఎంటర్ అయి ఉంది, బుక్స్ లో ఆల్రెడీ ఎంటర్ చేస్తున్నాం మనం. ఎలాగైనా భారత్ కనెక్ట్ ఆర్ మాన్యువల్లీ ఎలా కూడా మనం.
ఇవన్నీ బ్లాక్ కలర్ కరెస్పాండింగ్ బ్లాక్ కలర్ లేదు అంటే బుక్స్ లో దొరకనట్టు మ్యాచింగ్.
ఓకే 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 అండి, థాంక్స్ ఫర్ ది క్లారిఫికేషన్.
సో ఇది ఎక్కడ ఉంటది మళ్ళీ రిపీట్ చేస్తున్నాను. డిస్ప్లే మోర్ రిపోర్ట్స్ కి వెళ్ళాలి, స్టాట్యూటరీ రిపోర్ట్స్ కి వెళ్ళాలి, GST రిపోర్ట్స్ కి వెళ్ళాలి, అందులో GSTR 2B రికన్సిలేషన్ కి వెళ్ళాలి. ఓకేనా. సో దీనికి షార్ట్ కట్టే గేట్వే ఆఫ్ టాలీ నుంచి DOG కొట్టి 2B రికన్సిలేషన్ కాబట్టి B. సో DOGB is a shortcut.
ఓకే అండి, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
So anyone else? One second, I think one user could not speak and they had dropped the question in the chat box. Let me try to read it. Chalaram gar, can we, point 1 is clarified now from your explanation, sir. Very good. Okay, done. And you have another question. While importing the bank statement or transactions or purchases from GSTR 2B, if I have more leg of line items in one entry, how it can be possible for importing all the ledgers in the same transaction? One example is the TDS. Yeah. I'll just tell you answer for this. If you understand, do we have an item by name called what? Rounding off expense, rounding off income. We don't have it, right? In the GSTR 2B file. But what did I do? Manually, I created another column. Rounding off expense entundi, rounding off income entundani GSTR 2B lo create chesa. Ippudu oka chinna example తీసుకుందాం. ఇందాక ఇంపోర్ట్ చేసిన ఉంటే ఇక్కడ రౌండింగ్ ఆఫ్ లెడ్జర్ ఓపెన్ చేస్తే మీరు చూస్తే ఈ ఎంట్రీలో రౌండింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్పెన్స్ ఉందా లేదా అంటే ఏదైనా ఒక లెడ్జర్ మనకి ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక డౌట్ అడిగారు కదా మీరు, TDS ఉంది అనుకోండి, ఒక కాలం క్రియేట్ చేయాలి మనం TDS అని. పార్టీకి ఎంత వెళ్ళాలో కూడా ఫైనల్ గా కాలం క్రియేట్ చేయాలి. క్రియేట్ చేసి మ్యాపింగ్ చేసేస్తే వేరే ఎక్స్ట్రా లెడ్జర్స్ ఉన్నా కూడా ఏం కాదు. ఎగ్జాంపుల్, బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ రౌండింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్పెన్స్, రౌండింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్కమ్ GSTR 2Bలో ఉండదు, కానీ నేను క్రియేట్ చేసుకున్నా. దాంట్లో కూడా ఆ ఎక్సెల్ టెంప్లెట్ GSTR 2Bలో కూడా 2 కాలమ్స్ యాడ్ చేసా. ఆ కాలమ్స్ లో వాల్యూ ఎంత రావాలో కూడా మెన్షన్ చేసా మాన్యువల్ గా. అందుకోసం నేను ఈ అడిషనల్ లైన్ కూడా తెచ్చుకోగలిగాను. అదే విధంగా మీరు తెచ్చుకోగలుగుతారు. ఓకే, మీరు అక్కడ జిఎస్టీ 2Bలో కొన్ని కాలమ్స్ మాన్యువల్గా యాడ్ చేసుకోండి చల్లారాం గారు, వర్కౌట్ అవుతుంది. స్టిల్ ఏమైనా డిఫికల్టీ ఫైండ్ అవుతే మీరు నన్ను కాంటాక్ట్ చేయొచ్చు, నేను ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తాను మీకు ప్రాక్టికల్. యా ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ అండి, క్లారిఫై అయింది కదా. యా, సో ఇంకెవరికన్నా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉన్నాయా సార్? Q&A. ఐ థింక్ ఎవరెవరైతే హ్యాండ్స్ రైజ్ చేశారో వీ హ్యావ్ టేకెన్ ఆల్ ద క్వశ్చన్స్.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am. I think it's done with. The session is completed.
Q&A. Now we can conclude the session, sir. I would like to take a moment to thank our speaker, CA Badarinath sir, for sharing the practical insights on Tally. Your time and expertise are truly appreciated, sir, and a big thank you to each one of you who joined us this evening. We hope this session has added value to your understanding for year-end activities in Tally. Thank you to all once again. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
sir.
you so much.